Welcome everyone, I'm Yvonne Davis and I am here to begin a program on the artist's way. And I'm guessing if you clicked on this video, you probably are somewhat familiar with The Artist's Way by Julia Cameron. And I'm going to start with discussing week one, and it's called Recovering a Sense of Safety. And David Steele, my partner in crime, and I are both accredited facilitators of nonviolent communication developed by Marshall Rosenberg, PhD. And we teach nonviolent communication, or what is sometimes called compassionate communication, through the Rocky Mountain Compassionate Communication Network. Say that 5 times fast.
That 5 times fast.
It's like, oh no, please don't. Okay. So anyway, now, are you ready to begin? Or
Yeah, I'm ready to begin. I'm David.
Yeah, just introduce yourself, David.
Hi, I'm David. I'm actually very creative. It doesn't show.
Okay, so are we ready to get a little bit serious now?
Yeah, go ahead and ask a question.
Okay.
Or start talking and I'll ask questions.
Okay.
Be profound, okay?
All right, I'll try really hard, okay? So anyway, the first thing that Cameron talks about in week one are shadow artists. And so David and I are very familiar with the shadow, and we are going to talk about that a little bit, and also use the MVC process, which the most basic way to describe it is what we call OFNR, OFNR, which stands for Observation, Feelings, Needs, and Requests. And it may not sound very interesting when I first introduce it, but believe me, it is absolutely life transforming. And combined with The Artist's Way, I think it will just like rocket you to the moon. So let's get going. Okay.
If you're going to get rocketed to the moon, make sure and bring oxygen because you can't breathe there.
Alrighty, so the first thing, that occurred to me regarding the shadow artist was, or even doing The Artist's Way, was the needs we're trying to meet. So I would say in chapter 1 that Cameron is really encouraging us to explore needs for safety and a sense of security and support, and also our need for creative expression. So
so why
well,
why do you need safety, security? Why is creative expression even important?
Yeah, well, I'm curious to hear what your answers to that question are, but I would say my answer to that question is that part of what it means to be human, and if you're watching my videos, you're going to know that I am one of these people who believes that we are spiritual beings having a human experience. And I often go even further to say that we're actually living in a virtual reality. So this is where we come, planet Earth, to explore what it means to be a spiritual being in a physical body. One of the things that our souls absolutely need, is creative expression. It's part of who we are. We're creative beings. We're sort of like in baby God school. And I think I may have picked that up somewhere from Carolyn Miss. I'm not 100% sure, but I'm gonna go ahead and credit her for that. So, in order to be creative, we need to feel safe, and part of the reason for that is because creativity requires a profound vulnerability. So I'd love to hear your thoughts on that.
Okay, so when we create something, first of all, it's new. That's because it's creative, so we don't know what it's going to be. And once we've created it, we can't take it back because it's already out of the bag, so to speak, and visible. So if it's out of the bag and visible and we don't know what it's going to be to begin with, then there's no way we can totally track with our mind exactly what's going to happen. And that's very vulnerable. So if we don't have a sense of safety and feel really secure in ourselves, or at least some degree secure, or maybe we're just so inspired by what it is that we're pursuing that that gives us the courage to not listen to our doubts. That's requisite to really committing. And you know, every act of creation is like giving a birth. It's a birth, and so we don't know what's going to happen, and so that's why we have to feel safe and secure, and why it's vulnerable.
Yeah. I think also I would connect that to the vulnerability to intimacy and authenticity. Because when you really put yourself out there, it's like you're raw. You really have to let go of your defenses. Because I know personally, maybe you have some personal experience with this, but if you try to think with your head about, you know, how can I create something that will sell, that will make me rich and famous, and you do that with your head rather than with your heart, it doesn't work. And you end up with something that feels very stagnant. And sometimes, you know, when we first begin, because we are kind of awkward, like a baby trying to walk, yeah, I feel that way. I feel that way sometimes too when I'm learning to do these YouTube videos, because the weird thing about doing YouTube on a screen is that you constantly want to look at yourself on the screen, but you actually have to look at the camera so that the other person can see your eyes. So there's an awkwardness to it as well. But I know for myself, you know, I'm allowing myself to be vulnerable, and I'm not really sure. Are you feeling vulnerable?
I'm feeling silly. Not as vulnerable as you, because you're the one taking the lead. So I can kind of hide behind your inspiration and make myself small, okay, and just be safe because you're the one taking the risk.
Yeah, that's it. That's a good way to describe it too, because that's what happens when, you know, the whole idea of being a shadow artist is that we don't have to take the risk. You know, we can just make ourselves small and hide behind somebody else. So David is modeling for you what it looks like. I'm modeling for you what it looks like to be awkward and vulnerable, and David is modeling for you what it looks like to make yourself.
Oh, I can't get back up. Oh.
So I guess I'm here by myself now. All right.
Okay, I hope that was entertaining. You said this had to be entertaining. I'm normal.
Okay, so as you can see, we are getting pretty comfortable with looking foolish. But it's a good, like, I think there might even be a task in Cameron's book where she, or if not, it's I read it in some other spiritual teacher's book where the person suggested that you actually do something foolish in public as a way of overcoming your fears, because that can be really difficult too. You know, the thought of, oh my gosh, what if I make a fool of myself?
You know, Robin Williams made millions of dollars by being foolish in public.
Yeah, he did.
People loved it.
Yeah.
If you've ever seen Mork and Mindy and his routines.
Yeah.
And he didn't censor, you know, he trusted his gut. because when you censor stuff, when you try to control it as it comes out, the creativity is going to be diminished. So I have a question for you.
Okay.
We just talked a little bit about authenticity, safety, and security,
Mm-hmm.
and a little bit about the shadow, but not much.
Mm-hmm.
And so what's going to be in the next video?
Okay, so in the next video, I'm going to move on to the next topic in week 1, which is nurturing the child within. But I want to make sure that we have really looked deeply at this issue of shadow artists. And I don't think it's possible to go into enough depth in one video, but at least to talk about it and to bring in a little bit of the nonviolent communication and the process that we use for getting in touch with our authentic selves, our needs. So in this case, we're exploring needs for creative expression and safety, security, support. So in the process of observation, feelings, needs, and requests, we talked about the fear, the anxiety, the awkwardness that we might feel when we put ourselves out there and when we're vulnerable, but also that it's really important for meeting these needs to be able to do that. So now what I want to look at is some possible strategies for helping us to integrate the shadow, because the shadow is everything we repress.
Okay. I'm just checking in.
Mm-hmm.
So that could be a whole nother video.
Yeah.
Do you want me to really change? Do you want to just change gears and go into the shadow now, or do you want to do it as another video? This is called transparency, by the way.
Well, I think let's do this now. Yeah, let's go ahead and do this now.
Okay. You know, we're just not doing this video right. I can't do anything right. Every time I try to do something and I just screw it up, I might as well give up. I don't know, but I can't give up, because if I give up, I've given up. But I can't give up. I don't want to give up, but I just can't. You know, I am so stupid. I'm just, oh, David, you idiot. Why don't you just do it? You know what you're doing. Just do it. Make it happen. Get some inspiration. What the hell? You know, why? I just don't get it.
Yeah, I have the same problem. You know, I just know that everything I do is going to fail because my father told me so my whole life, that I couldn't do anything right. And
We should all listen to our parents.
yeah, I know,
We do
because
listen to our parents.
they know what's right. They know what's true. They know what's best for us. And as my father tells me, he knows what reality is because he is realistic. And I have too much faith in woo-woo stuff. And so I'm not realistic. I'm actually, according to him, out of touch with reality because my attitude is way too optimistic. So I think, you know, we should just give up now because we're complete total losers.
Well, you said we are complete and total losers. And I guess so, it must be true. So if you're still watching this video, you're looking at a couple of complete and total losers. That's us. Here we are. Mm-hmm. Not you. You might think you're the one that's the complete and total losers. Really, it's us. So don't try to move in on our territory. But no, seriously, the shadow, the shadow is cold, it's lonely, very, very cold. It's scared, it's angry.
Doesn't want to be seen.
No, it doesn't want to be seen.
It's in a lot of pain.
It's in a lot of pain. And yet it controls much of our behavior. And so often when we become vulnerable, like we talked about in the beginning of the video, and we want to express something, the shadow comes in and filters that expression or twists it in a way. And actually, sometimes some of the greatest works of art are created out of dancing with the shadow. You know, if you look at the painting that Picasso did, I don't remember what it's called, about the Spanish War. With it's just really amazing. You know, he was looking at some pretty dark stuff and had to find a way to express some of the stuff I've created in my life. Started when I was in so much pain. I had to do something with that pain because it was just too much. I had to do something with it, and I had to turn it into creativity so it would meet me alive. So a lot of art, a lot of artistic expression is a way to metabolize, to digest the shadow. Would you like to add anything?
Yeah, I like that. So I think what I'd like to add about the shadow is the shadow is the part of ourselves that we repress, that we disown, because it is the pain, it's the woundedness, it's the fear. There's also a loving side of the shadow. It actually loves us and wants to protect us, but we are so afraid to go there and to walk, in a sense, through the valley of death. And so, you know, although I'm using some fairly esoteric language, I think that that is really in alignment with what Julie Cameron was saying, is that this is a spiritual program. It's not intellectual. Even though we're using words and concepts to try to get us a little bit closer to this alchemical experience, it really is a spiritual experience. It's archetypal. It's something that every human being goes through. And some of us have the courage to actually meet our shadow and begin to melt the lead of all the, you know, it's like this energy, that the woundedness, the pain, the repression, the anger, the fear, all of it just gets clumped. That energy gets clumped. And it takes also a lot of energy to hold that down, not to look at it, to keep it down. And so to try to integrate that is really scary, and some people just cannot go there. It requires such an intense level of courage and strength and self-love to be able to go there and meet your shadow and begin to integrate that lead, to transmute it, to transform it, and bring it into yourself in an integrated way, because that is your power. It's being repressed. And when you transmute it, you integrate it into yourself and you bring that power back to yourself. But that is a process that requires vulnerability. It requires authenticity, and it requires intimacy. And the only way to do that is to, in a sense, kind of strip naked. And I don't mean obviously take your clothes off, although for some people artistically that has been literally what they do. But I mean more like psychologically, to strip naked and to be raw and to be vulnerable.
Well, that's just made the case for safety.
Yeah, exactly.
Because if you don't feel safe, that's going to be very difficult to do.
Yeah.
So since you brought in Offner, which was a surprise to me, I didn't know we were going to talk about Offner in this video. But if you're going to work with the shadow, you have to start by noticing that it's there. Noticing that critical voice in your head, noticing that tension in your body, and realizing that you're not the voice, you're not the tension. That you are, there's a part of you that's not caught up in it that becomes aware of it. And once you notice it, then you listen to it. And what's going to happen is there's going to be feelings. Often it's a feeling of anger. Sometimes it's a feeling of fear. Sometimes it's a feeling of relief. But you just gently put your attention on what feelings come alive when you notice that shadow. So that's the observation, the feeling. And then you ask those feelings what it is that they yearn for, what they really, really want for you. And that takes you to the need, that there's something need that shadow is trying to express. Often it's protection, sometimes it's safety, often there's fairness involved, equity. But anyhow, you really listen to what those feelings are yearning for. And then once you are really tied into that yearning, into those needs, then the action that you take, the expression that comes out of you is going to be much more in line, aligned with the livingness, the life, the energy, and that melts the shadow. That brings warmth to the shadow, and it begins to dissolve. And then what you're doing is integrating it. So that's how Offner fits in. Did I do that okay?
Yeah, that's great.
Thanks.
So because this is a YouTube video and not a workshop, we do have some time limitations. So although we could go on and on about this, and I will put links in the description box below this video so that you can access more information about the shadow and integrating the shadow if you're interested. And now what I'd like to turn to is some possible strategies for meeting the needs that we've been talking about. And obviously, a need for creative expression is huge, and that's not it's not a need you can meet in 1 week with one task. That's why Julia Cameron suggests some strategies such as the 3 morning pages. So I'm encouraging you to do that as well. The weekly artist date, which I'll talk more about next week, in the next video.
Make a note so that you remember to talk about it in the next video.
Don't worry, I won't forget.
And I'm really worried. I'm very worried. What if you forget? And then people think that you're not professional.
Yeah. Well, they'll just have to think that.
All right.
Okay, so.
What are the 3 morning pages?
Well, it's something that Julia Cameron discusses in The Artist's Way. And I had already decided that I'm not going to do a video on the introductory material, because if you're interested in The Artist's Way, then I highly recommend you read this book, because this is the foundation of the program that she created. And all I'm trying to do here in this video is a little bit of added value by bringing in what the knowledge and expertise that I have, particularly in nonviolent communication, but also I'm in a master's program in creative writing. So I will be talking about what it's like to be in an MFA program, a Master of Fine Arts in Creative Writing. And sometimes I'll be talking about that in this series of videos, but I'm also planning to do another series of videos that is just focused on that program. And for anyone who's interested, who's possibly considering doing an MFA program. So anyway, I want to make sure that we have time to discuss some of the strategies. So I'm not going to go into detail about the 3 morning pages in this video, but I do recommend highly that you read the book before you watch the video. And in fact, the Artist's Way is a program that you can do over and over and over again. I read the book first when it first came out, but I just read it. It was intellectual. It didn't really sink in for me. But then a couple of years ago, I did the program within a group setting. And we met once a week for a few hours, and that was a phenomenal experience. So I am highly considering creating a group to accompany this video. So some people may just want to watch the videos, but if you want to be in a group setting, I'm looking at setting that up. So that'll be something to consider as well as a potential strategy. So then some other strategies that I have are what I'd like you to try this week is writing a letter from your future self to your present self. So imagine yourself maybe a year from now. So this video will be loaded to YouTube on January 1st, 2018. And I am planning to do this program for the first 12 weeks of 2018. So it'll be the first 84 days of 2018. And so what I'm thinking about is this is like initiation period. And then I'm also coordinating this with the astrological alignments. So on March 8th, the first planet goes retrograde, and that's a time when you have to reconsider, you go back. So I'll probably redo the program again a second time and try to take it to a higher level for anyone who found this material useful. And then by the end of the year, the planets will go direct again. And so we'll see the fruition of our labors over the course of a year. So what I'm thinking is this would be a really great strategy to imagine yourself a year from now after you've really gone down this path of conscious creation and really tried to work with your shadow and to integrate some of that repressive energy such that you dissolve your blocks. Take that power and turn it toward your creative expression. So that's the first task that I suggest, is to write a letter from your future self a year from now to the person that you are today. And tell yourself, what was that year like? What kind of things did you do? Maybe even what kind of challenges you experienced, but how did you get through them? And what does your life look like a year from now? So give that a try this week. And then at the end of the week, I'll ask some people to share what that experience was like for them. So that's the first strategy. And the second one is to watch for synchronicities. That's one of the things that Julia Cameron talks about in the book, is synchronicities. And they're incredibly powerful, and they will happen more and more as you do this program. So pay attention to that. It's the universe speaking to you. And when you pay attention, it'll speak more often and louder. So that's really important. So that's the second task. The third one is to ask yourself, who or what inspired you this week? And it doesn't have to be just one thing or one person. Maybe it's just one, but it might be multiple. So keep track of that. And then the fourth strategy is to ask yourself, what challenged you this week? And keep track of those things, the things that, when the blocks come up, when the obstacles come up. I don't care if you think they're internal or external. It doesn't matter. We create our reality. So even when you see an external obstacle, it's actually a reflection of inner obstacles, believe it or not. So you want to be tracking those, because the more you make them visible and observe them without judgment, they will begin to dissolve. And that power, when it's transformed, the lead dissolves and it transmutes into power. And that's a form of alchemy. And that's a language that I like to use as well. So, like I said, I will include links below this video if you want to go in and just explore this information in more depth. And I will be making these videos all year long. So if you follow me, you're going to learn a lot this year, and you're going to transform a lot of that lead and turn it into power. Any last thoughts you want to share?
I guess I'll be following you.
Thank you.
All right.
And thanks for mentioning that, because yes, I am wanting to gain subscribers to this channel. So if you're watching this video, please subscribe and click on the bell so you get notifications when my videos come up. And check out my website, check out my social media. Feel free to like this video and follow or join any of my other social media. And I will look forward to talking to you again. I hope you enjoyed this video. So good night and goodbye.